Do you ever have so many questions and no one to ask, so they're just wasting away on Google searches you'll forget about in an hour or so?
We had that same problem, and that's why we created the RD2Be podcast, a resource for dietetic and nutrition students looking for answers that their peers don't have.
We are students Macy and Emily and registered dietitian Carl Barnes. We engage in conversations and learn from RDs.
Join us weekly as we gain insight into the unique journeys of registered dietitians all over the country.
All right, today we're honored to have Dr. Udahogora here with us. She's faculty at University of Maryland, College Park. She's currently the program director there at the university for the nutrition program. Thank you so much for being here with us. I'll let Emily take it.
Thank you. Hi, Dr. Yu. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So today we're just going to discuss a few things. Where did your undergraduate start? How did you become a registered dietitian? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm originally from Rwanda, Africa. So I started my undergraduate there and then did my master's in nutrition and public policy in Kenya.
Okay.
To the events of war, I came to America and then to New Hampshire, where I did my combined dual credit of undergraduate in dietetic and a master's degree. So that's how I found myself ready to become a dietitian.
Awesome. Where did you do your PhD program?
I did work sometimes, like 3 years in the hospital, but I knew one day I wanted to have my PhD, so I decided to come to Maryland, to the University of Maryland, where I completed my PhD.
What was your PhD in, like public health? Was it in nutrition or?
Yeah, my PhD was in nutrition with a focus with a component in nutrition epidemiology.
Okay.
I'd been working with one-on-one on clinical setting or community setting. I wanted to understand better how to be able to approach population and make difference at a higher scale level. Yeah.
Is there any population you had in particular or just epidemiology as a whole?
I was mostly interested in chronic diseases. I have a history of losing my mom to stroke and diabetes. So immediately I knew those would be my area of interest. So I helped to prevent diabetes. And I'm glad that I actually started to work at the international level about that.
Oh, awesome. So what type of research, did you do any research on like chronic diseases like diabetes and stroke? I believe it was.
When I did my PhD was more on West circumference to look at how that leads to diabetes and how diseases among African American, and also to be able to say what's the appropriate West circumference. But right now, my interest is more on preventing diabetes and among populations. Then also looking at the fact of food insecurity, because that leads to other consequences, such as chronic people will end up eating wherever they can get, and that does not help when you're trying to prevent or manage diabetes. Yeah.
Great. So what was your favorite part about working in a clinical setting and doing the waist measurements and things of that nature?
Wow, clinical, that was really, you can see I have a big smile on my face. That's a part I enjoyed a lot. When I was growing up, I had wanted to become a medical doctor, but I couldn't. So being in a hospital setting, working closely with medical doctors, making decisions that they were finding very useful, and looking up to me for nutrition prescription, and particularly being part of that team. I was in a cancer center, and then I was in ICU and all other floors. I was also consulting in a long-term care where I wanted to see how life ends. And that convinced me that I needed to be more in prevention. So the clinical, it's very rewarding.
Awesome. What were some of your favorite experiences working in a clinical setting or a long-term care facility?
Some of the experiences were working with patients who were really having major health issues to see how human being we can fight. And I really felt like it was a privilege, actually an honor to fight along with them. And to have, for instance, someone who came with head and neck cancer and had the treatment, could not swallow, and then with the collaboration of other healthcare providers, be able to get that person to swallow and eat and have a normal life, or to see someone in ICU moving from ICU down to the next floor where they are off all the kinds of tubes or TPN, total parenteral nutrition, where I'm feeding through the central vein. So they were seeing really people getting better, and the privilege you get to connect with the patient as well as the whole team of doctors and nurses. I cannot describe it enough. It's great.
Yeah, I remember because I'm in one of your classes right now. And I remember how passionate you were talking about like your clinical setting and how you just loved interacting with the patient. So that's awesome. Great to hear. So you're so passionate about clinical. What made you become a professor? So I know you're a professor for methods of nutritional assessment. I'm pretty sure medical nutrition therapy. So how did that come about?
Yeah. After 3 years, I believe I was I was aggressive and driven like my student. So what I ended up deciding in 3 years, I had accomplished so much. I was going to conferences and getting all kind of trainings. And actually each year you were supposed to accumulate 75 credits to remain a dietitian. I think I was accumulating more than that and not using all of it. So I realized within 3 years, my growth, there was no other way I could grow. I didn't think of becoming the clinical manager. I wanted to get out, and I felt like the hospital environment was not going to allow me to reach populations. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what has been your favorite part about being a professor or a program director, since you're the program director at University of Maryland?
Wow. I have the privilege of meeting students first day you step on that campus.
Yeah.
Meet with you, with your parents, and see how young and nervous you are. And then I observe you throughout the whole process. And by the time I teach the first course, Nutrition 100, and by the time you get to me, Nutrition 380, Nutrition Assessment, I realize all kind of knowledge you have accumulated. And then by the time I'm teaching you medical nutrition, I realize how much growth you have achieved, and the transformation. It's so great to really witness and be part of that.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. So what have been some of your most rewarding experiences at the University of Maryland?
The most rewarding is the connection I get to have with students. Personally, very much invested in my student, and the rewarding is to see their efforts being rewarded by, for instance, getting 100% match for internship, getting out and having the very good jobs, and still stay in touch with students. I can say since I started in 2011, I have trained more than 1,000 students.
Wow.
When I look back and realize where they are, I always say it was, wow, I was part of that journey, and I also want to improve it all the time.
That's great. That's great. That's very rewarding. It sounds really rewarding.
Yeah, it is.
So since you are the program director, what are some positive trends that you have seen over the years with all of your students? So what are some commonalities that we all have that you?
Yeah, and of course with the trend, getting the younger groups, but also get people who are interested in their second degree.
Okay.
As I have observed as the commonality, you are all interested in making a difference in people's lives. you have that empathy, that passion, and also you want to really learn, and you are driven, because I really like that part. You are driven, you set up your own goals, and you know, and you run with that, and I all only come in to support you. So that has been something consistent, because you know you have to take all those chemistries and biologies and all that. There's no way you would take it if you're a laid back person. So it's like you're all driven to succeed and to accomplish what you come to the university for.
Great. So with that in mind and how much you like helping students and seeing them grow and things like that, how does your undergraduate experience compare to ours, or like to what you see in your students?
There are commonalities, similarities, and also differences. And of course, the differences, I can start with that and then end up with the similarities. The differences is the age gap, maybe, because I'm from a different generation. So we had things done slightly different with the professors and but you, as you get younger, you have more option, you have more opportunities. But the commonality is that my director was excellent. She actually became my mentor when I got this position. My director was really very impacted me so much, and all the professors were very helpful. So those are similarities to see how people want to invest in you, how dietitians are available for you, support you. Yeah.
So right now, a lot of students are super anxious about this whole match process that's coming up in the spring, because this is an abnormal period of time. So what type of advice would you give to students that are going to start applying in these upcoming weeks?
Number one is for you to maintain your confidence. You are a very strong candidate. You have been through all those major courses. You have done so much, and at time you don't realize that. And that's the reason I set up a meeting with each individual student applying for internship, so I can go over your resume and pull that strength out of you, because that's number one, your confidence. And also we started learning about discussing internships since, I believe, early October. That's when I've held my first meeting, and we have had other meetings. Please attend all those meetings and learn from each other, get support from each other, get help. We have all dietitians who are willing to come back on campus and help you. So, and just make sure you plan. You make like a Swiss cheese and put those holes in it. Don't wait for everything to be completed at the last minute.
That's great advice. So how about for students that are not applying? So I in particular am not applying until next year. So what type of advice for like volunteer work and experience would you recommend for right now, although we're in the middle of a global pandemic?
There's nothing wrong with deciding to take a break. And you need to know what exactly are you doing during that time. Is it because you have a job you would like to complete? And also stay connected with our field. We have dietitians who meet for networking in DC, in Maryland, in Virginia. Maybe now everything is online. It would be easier for you to join. So stay connected. And also, it's very important to stay in touch with us on campus, because at times we have opportunities and we still send emails and say this person is looking for someone to an employee or a work experience, and so it's possible, and then you can apply the next year. Also, you can look maybe at one course you want to improve, and maybe retake a course, a community college, if it was a chemistry or something else. There's so much you can accomplish, but stay connected with the people in the profession. Yeah.
That's great advice. Yeah, I know a lot of students right now are trying to figure out what to do because we can't really get into a clinical setting. It's hard to volunteer because of the limitations and stuff like that. So yeah, that was really good advice to retake classes if we have to. So how do
If
you?
I,
Oh,
sorry,
no.
I'm sorry. If I can add something else, even if you cannot get into clinical, there's
Mhm.
much you can still do right now. There are some things you can read, meetings you can attend, webinars you can listen to. You can kind of come up with a timeline and say weekly, I'm going to watch maybe anything related to diabetes.
Mhm.
And once I'm done with that, I'm going to focus more on heart disease. And there are also all dietitians around you who would be willing to talk to you and tell you what they are doing exactly.
Great. So with that in mind, are there any webinars or articles or anything in particular that you recommend or that you frequently watch or listen to or read?
Yeah, yeah. Depending on a person's interest, we have, for instance, the Academy releases some free webinars. We have some eating disorders program in our region. At times, they also offer free webinars. Sports nutrition, that's another area. Some dietitians do send me some material, and I always share that information with students. Another area is ASPEN, the American Society of Parental Nutrition, because that's where they focus on tube feeding and nutrition support. That's also very important. That's a place you can listen to doctors, pharmacists, and look at how are they approaching the tube feeding. Even the other webinars, it's also critical that you start uh, observing, listening, and understanding how the other team members, healthcare team members work. So you can also get interested, not only focusing on dietitian, maybe a doctor is giving a presentation on eating disorders.
Mhm.
Maybe there might be some 40% you wouldn't understand, but the rest you really do, or 30% you might end up looking for if they are medical terminologies, but the most of the stuff you'll understand. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Are there any ones that in particular that you happen to watch? Like any specific like people that you would recommend watching or articles by certain people?
Yeah, one person that comes in mind when it comes to counseling, Molly Kellogg's. She's a dietitian who is also a therapist. She has been training people, writing books. And she has free material, and she does have a podcast too. So you can be on her podcast and listen to her. So that's one type of person. Others, because of my interest in research, I really like to see what the most recent findings, maybe when it comes to tube feeding or total parental nutrition. I also like Aspen and things from the academy. Yeah.
Great. So for students who are interested in research, how would you go about like offering advice for them? So how do you suggest like getting into a research lab, like in Maryland, for example?
Great question. We have many other faculties who are doing research. For instance, we have Dr. Song, Dr. Sayun, and others. You can actually contact the professor and ask if they have an opportunity. Uh, and you can also do an independent study with a professor if you are really invested in one area and you want to learn about the research in that area. And and then also you can participate in journal clubs. There are journal clubs that are held by dietitian. When you are in the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, there are some subgroup. You might have to find out if they are for journal club. So those would be good venues. Yeah.
Great. Are you currently working on any research, or are you strictly doing what's it called, the program director and being a professor?
For right now, I did apply to USDA grant, so I'm waiting to see what will come up, if they will fund me. But some of the research I'm doing is in collaboration with others, whether it's in Ghana, where we are looking at issues of food security, or whether it's Dr. Sumner and Sumner, who's at NIH. Have been coordinating with her to train medical students and also to get people to participate in the research to see how they develop diabetes, people who come from the African descendant. We did publish a few articles together. So, and of course with the COVID, really the research has stopped. So I'm more focusing on surviving the online.
Yeah. I think everybody is right now. So you said that you've written some research papers. So is there any article that you've written that really stands out to you that you would really like to share with everybody who's listening?
Yeah, that would be very interesting. It was a review. It wasn't the original study. So it was a review that I worked on with Dr. Sumner and other collaborators. And we were looking at the tools we use in determining how people come up with diabetes, if the weaknesses and the concerns. So I'll be happy to send you a link with that article.
Great. Maybe we can link it to the video and the podcast and stuff like that. Thank you. I'd really,
of course.
I'm sure a lot of people would enjoy reading that.
Yeah.
So what has been, what is one aspect of your current job that you didn't think that you would really come across? So did you ever think you were going to be a program director at a university with such a top tier dietetic program, or how has your current job been like treating you, I guess?
Yeah, it's a very, I would say it's a great job, and that causes you to grow, and you get all kinds of training, of course, because this position you are required to write reports. For instance, starting this December, January, I will start to write a 7-year report about our program. And I did not know that one day I'll be the dietetic program director. It happened that when I was there and the position got open and they were interested in me. So I decided to take it and rely on my mentor, get all the training I needed, and support group people can continue to communicate with. And also that led me to becoming one of the reviewers for Ascend. I can now, the last 5 years, I've been reviewing other universities, assessing how their dietetic programs are doing. So you learn so much, and that's the leadership position I took on. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Did you look at any other DPD programs that you could potentially work with, or was Maryland like set in stone and you were confident you wanted to do that one?
I just only work with Maryland. So what I do, I'm a reviewer, a lead reviewer for Ascend, where I have been to different universities, Purdue University, into Philadelphia, which was the name of, I don't remember the name of the university, but I've been to Oklahoma University. Now I remember that was my last one. So where we just review the program and make sure it meets the Ascend requirement to train the student, and with the population is protected and the right education is provided. So you can only be a director for one program, but you can go and evaluate others.
Great. So kind of going back to the beginning, so how does your dietetic career compare from in Africa, like in Rwanda and Kenya, to America? So how is the education? Is it the same? Is it very different? How would you compare those two, since you have the experience of going through both?
Definitely, the experience is more advanced in the US. But if you look, for instance, the basic nutrition, it's the same. The sciences are the same. What comes unique is that in the US, you get additional material, you get more information, you are maybe being taught by people who are doing research in those areas. You actually get to meet them and not read about them anymore.
Mhm.
Or people who are working, for instance, for USDA and publishing all the enhanced data and what we eat in America, you invite them, you see them. So, and US has also developed so many tools we use, indicators we use to assess people or to determine them as a benchmark to see if someone is healthy or not. And we tend, other countries, especially developing low income, middle income countries, tend to use those same ones because they don't have the means to develop their own.
Have you worked within any other continents? So I know you have Africa and you have the United States. Have you ever worked within like Europe or Asia or South America?
I have only visited, and I have family members in those different continents, in Europe, Asia, and of course Asia and Australia too. Uh, I don't know. Today I had a strange thought of working in South Africa, but I haven't matured that yet.
Well, I mean, you're a world traveler, so I'm sure if you wanted to do that, you could. So since you've worked in two different areas, you've worked in clinical and you've worked in more of like a, I don't want to say more professional, but more in like professional preparing for us students. So what are some unexpected pivots that you've seen in the like the college side of it? So what's something that, like a challenge that you faced being a program director?
I think coming from clinical and transitioning to being the academia is very different. In the clinical, I could leave my work at home and go and sleep and have my weekend and pick it up maybe next time. But still, because I really care so much about my patient, at times if I had a very complicated scenario, I will meet with other dietitian on Saturday, or I will read some literature review. But here in the academia, you are really connected 24/7. So you learn how to discipline yourself, how to say, no, my Saturday is mine or my Sunday is mine. I'm not gonna open this computer. So you have to organize that yourself.
That was actually my follow-up question. So how do you separate work from home, especially during these times when you work from home?
It's very difficult. At my time, I start from 6 a.m. and up to maybe 8, I'm still on the computer. So, but I started to be more disciplined. I know by 9, my computer is closed no matter how much work I have left. And by 10:30, I have to get my sleep.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I won't function the next day. So despite that, students have my cell phone. They know, everyone knows you cannot reach Dr. Yu at 10:30 unless it's an emergency. So I have put those boundaries. The other thing I have incorporated is to find ways to release my stress. I ride my bicycle, I walk, I pray. I find ways to re-energize myself.
Wow, that's really important, especially
Yeah.
these.
And of course I eat well. I'm a dietitian.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. So my last question is, what does a program director mean to you? So what does it mean, like when you signed up for this job, what were some of the goals you had in mind? What did you envision for this program?
When I started the program, my goal was to give the best and see Lily students achieve their goals and get into an internship and graduate. But as, of course, things are evolving in our environment, and also if you look at the number of students coming to the university or those who cannot come, our goals have also changed to make sure we are reaching to those who can get the knowledge but are not able to join us. And also I have been transitioning because I realize I'm with a very smart group. I've transitioned to challenging you more. So until, because I always keep high expectation for my student and I can challenge you until I realize maybe this is too much. I can bring it back, scale it down, but so far I've been successful to add new activities, things you can even use in your resume because that connects you to the community. So I know I do not want you to feel like you are blocked in a four wall of classroom, but you are learning and connecting to the community. So that was really my goal, and looks like I'm starting to achieve that more and more.
Yeah, so I guess a follow-up to that is, how do you feel having such a high match rate and passing rate for the RD exam? Like, how did you, I guess, work with the program and do the curriculum so you have such a high success rate?
First of all, I like to give credit to the student because you do work hard to get to a good GPA, a high GPA, and also you get the work experience. Secondly, we start learning about application early in October and September, early October. So, and then the deadline is February. So, and former student are already willing to come back and give back and help you in the process. And one of the most amazing thing is to be able to have 9, 10, 11 directors of internship come and talk to you. Like the going to happen December 10th. So that also builds your confidence and already connect with some of the directors right there. And you can express your interest. You can go to their open house as well. So you are such a hardworking group, and then all we do is to facilitate you. And lastly, when it comes to personal statement and references, which makes such a huge difference in the application, students are well prepared, and we also even visit how to get a good reference, how you do. So all those make a difference, yes.
Wow, well, thank you so much for all this helpful information about like the different paths you can take, how you get there, the detours you can take, and like all the opportunities that we have as students. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I hope you is there any advice you would like to give to students before we depart?
Of course I do. One advice I have, and of course you're working so hard, make sure you take good care of yourself, but also don't be too focused. Pull information, go to listen to webinars, do something else to continue enriching yourself as a whole, to become a resourceful person. So that's what I mean.
Great. Self-care is a very good piece of advice now.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Udahogora. I appreciate it.
All right.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.